But let's shift now, Eileen, audit quality. We've talked about that the last couple of years. Your reflections on what's happening there.
Well, I think people need to understand that a lot of the work on audit quality has come out of the crash in 2008. And a lot of European regulators and governments have mandated that companies actually change their audit firm. Sometimes 5 years, sometimes 7 years. But in order not to go that route, the Canadian regulators have said, look, for large companies particularly, every year the board should be reporting, the audit committee, obviously as a proxy for the board, should be reporting on the fact that they've reviewed their auditor's performance, and at least once in 5 years, you should be doing a comprehensive review, not just of your audit team, but of the firm itself. You know, are you getting the kind of support from the firm as a whole on things like complex transactions, you know, M&A work, whatever it is that's particularly critical for your company. You can't have every expert on your audit team, but certainly within the firms, they do have these people, and you need to know that you are adequately and on a timely basis consulting the people in the firm that you need to consult in order to get the kind of service that you require. And as far as audit quality indicators are concerned, I know that there are many. There's all kinds of literature. You can Google this subject and get many responses. But there's four that I'd like to put up for people to think about. First of all, is just as you would think about your own company or any company in which you might want to be investing, the whole firm leadership and tone at the top is really important. And I think that every audit committee chair should feel that he or she could go to either the managing partner for the country as a whole or the managing partner in your province or city to talk to them about the firm's policies, about tone at the top, whether it's independence or succession planning or partner retention, any of the things that you feel are important to the quality of the audit experience that you have with that firm. You need to talk about the engagement team, the depth of their knowledge, the breadth of their knowledge, depending on the business that you happen to be in, the experience that they have not only with your firm, but with maybe even your competitors in the past, like firms, how well do they know the business, and what's the workload like? Are the people on your team overloaded? I'm not a great fan of being hard on audit fees. You know, basically the audit firm, now that we've had this division between consulting and auditing, audit firms can't be recovering losses in one area by padding fees in other areas. They can't do that. So I think you've got to know that your audit firm is coming close at least to recovering their costs on the assignment, or they're going to be looking to cut corners. And I think it's very important that you get the best quality job you can for the money you're spending, and look at the workload of the people on your team. The other thing is internal monitoring that the firm is doing on their own quality. I mean, you can get CPAB reports, which are, I think, getting better and better all the time on the state of the industry quality, but you don't get audit firm-specific reports in this country. And I think there you have to go and talk to management of the auditing firm and your engagement partner about how they monitor their own quality control. And you know, you get this in the boilerplate at the back of your audit report, but there's no substitute for going and talking to management of the audit firm and getting it directly from them. The last one is the quality of the reporting itself. I mean, is it comprehensive? Is it understandable? Can they explain in words of one syllable what it is you should be paying attention to? Can they describe the discussions that they've had with management and how those discussions have ended? I also believe that there is no tremendous virtue in never having an audit difference. I think that these things will arise from time to time, whether they're timing or whether they're issues of principle, whether they're material or non-material. I think it's important that you understand that there can be different points of view. And sometimes the way, as John talked about, management of the firm, you need to understand your business and what's important, and sometimes these things will arise, and you need to understand how that discussion has gone forward. But those, the fact that you have these robust discussions, less comprehensive annually, but very comprehensively at least once every 5 years for a good-sized company, I think is very important. The discussion of the new, longer audit report. This is probably new for some people. This is something which has started again out of Europe and is creeping in our direction. There's a consultation outstanding at the moment about what should go into this report. I think it's a very slippery slope. I think there's lots of companies that are both not prepared and probably don't see the value of some of this. But and the very things that shareholders might want in that report, where the auditor would say, I don't really agree with this. I mean, that's never going to happen, right? Never. The legal community is going to make sure that bonanza doesn't actually come to fruition. So I think that it's fine for the auditor's report to outline areas of significant audit interest, but I think the real opportunity here is for audit committees, through an expanded audit committee report in the proxy statement, to talk about the work that they've done to make sure that what is in the financial statements and the MD&A actually reflects best practice, and that they have, that they've thoroughly gone through all the areas of significant audit importance in the company and have come to a meeting of the mind with the auditors about how those should be reflected in the statements. And I think that the compensation committee dialogue in the proxy statement has been expanded enormously over the past few years. But I think the audit committee report is probably the next one that needs to have a scrubbing. And I think it's up to us. I don't think we should be looking to the auditors to put themselves in harm's way here. I think it's our responsibility to put these statements out in a way that's fair and reasonable. And I think we should talk about the process that we've undergone to get there.
Eileen, lots of changes and developments on audit quality, and undoubtedly will continue for quite some time. But it is interesting, the difference between Europe and the UK and North America. If you go over to Europe, it's mandatory rotation coming. Yep. In the UK, it's mandatory tendering. In North America, there's a strong push. We don't want to do that. The comprehensive review was meant to be Canada's answer to that front. It is going to be interesting, those comprehensive reviews and how well they're done, and will it lead to some changes, even tendering, because it was interesting, your commentary around fees. Yep. There are still many directors who would say, that's nice, but we really need to go test the water around the fees. Yeah.
Well, I think the value for money spent issue is an important one. I wouldn't ever say that wasn't important, but I think grinding down fees for the sake of doing that is not necessarily a wise thing to do, because you never know then where the corners are going to be cut. So I think going out and testing the market is good. I think a couple of the major banks did that within the last year or so. Some stayed with the one that they had, and some changed. But I think the issue is the process that you go through. But any company, any public company of any size in Canada uses probably at least 3 out of the 4 major accounting firms today. So if you start looking at tendering your external audit, if you change your auditors, you're going to find everybody's going to move one chair to the left. You're going to end up with the same cast of characters, but they're doing different things for you. Now, that may be a good outcome. It may be, and especially if you've been for a very long period of time with the same people, maybe a change is a good thing. But in terms of mandating that, I think you're just going to create a merry-go-round.